Welcome to Hear From Where, a podcast about the journeys that shape us. I'm your host, Chef Andrew Garrett, and each week I'll sit down with incredible individuals who've carved their own paths in health, nutrition, entrepreneurship, sports, and beyond. This is where we dive deep into the stories of determination, resilience, and passion, the moments that brought them here, from where they started. Whether you're looking for inspiration, a spark to start your own journey, or just love hearing amazing stories, then you're in the right place. So grab your favorite drink, settle in, and let's explore what it really takes to follow your dreams. Good afternoon, good day, good morning, good evening, whatever time you're listening. This is the Hear From Where podcast. My name is Chef Andrew Garrett. Today I am joined by a guest, Marena Gray from the Meeting Place out in Hillsboro, Oregon. Marena is the custom shop manager and butcher, slaughter, all things that have to do with cutting and wrapping both game and local livestock. Is that correct?
Yep.
Awesome. So I'm new to the idea of what like a custom shop is. Like I always thought that, you go to a butcher and the whole thing is just butcher. What's the custom part of that? What's that mean?
So basically, I process for local farmers and all the local hunters that bring in their meat. We'll schedule a mobile truck out. We just started doing inspected meat. So that's been pretty new it's the same thing as almost USDA cutting. Very clean, check off lists, lots of cleaning.
Yeah.
And like just keeping everything ready, timely, and it's been a good experience for everyone. It's a little stressful, but
Yeah,
it's a change.
Yeah, I imagine starting anything brand new is always going to be a little bit stressful. So I guess I tend to do this a lot when I interview people, is I completely gloss over the fact that I'm here to find out who you are. How did you get here? Like, how did you get to being a custom cutting professional? Like, where did that start? What was that like for you?
I used to be a line cook at a bar down the street, and I was just curious for some reason and looked up butcher shop, and Casey's only custom shop at the time popped up. So I drove down there and knocked on the door, and back then it was easier to learn a little bit. The company was 2 people, 3 people. So they let me in, and then I stayed.
That's awesome. So how long have you been doing this?
I did part-time for a couple of years, I think in 2011, just at the custom shop, and then decided that I wanted to be full-time. So I went over there, they hired me, and I started working in the retail shop, just like they just opened a couple of years ago. The cafe, I think, was running then. And then seasonally, I'd go down and wrap for the custom shop.
Awesome. So for anybody that doesn't know, the Meeting Place is one of my favorite. Well, it is my go-to for any kind of like custom meat. I love going out there because of the selection that y'all have. I'm going to go ahead and plug them very, very heavily. So this is like, you and I had to have crossed paths at some point out there, because I was out there on a pretty regular basis in like 2010, 2011 with my hot sauce company. So that's like, it's funny. So again, like I bounce all around. I've followed you on Instagram through the Meeting Place and just really enjoy the amount of content that you put forward with butchery and food. And I think it's like really enjoyable to watch. I like watching people butcher meat. I think it's pretty awesome. So you started as a line cook down the street from the Meeting Place. How did you get into food to begin with? Like where did that start?
It was just service industry jobs. After high school, a friend of my friends got me a job at the local diner in town. And I grew up in Lake Oswego, and then I just stayed in it. It was good. You make good tip money, to be perfectly honest. Then I started working for smaller shops and kind of poking around in the kitchen a little bit more, and then I finally get the kitchen job, um, and then one day I just got really curious about like where do you get meat from? And like I said, the rest was history.
That's awesome. So I mean, having a fascination where meat comes from, I also share that same like fascination. And growing up, well, raising animals and doing our own butchery at home on the farm, hunting and fishing. I've had a very like close connection with that for a long time. In today's world, it seems that people are getting further and further away from where their meat actually comes from, or even having an understanding of what quality meat is. I think
Yes.
that we've kind of lost direction on what quality means, and if I'm not mistaken, y'all are doing some pretty cool stuff with dairy cows. Is that correct?
Yes. My friend Rachel has an amazing company, which you can also find on Instagram. And she basically takes cows that could be repurposed, recycled, is how she put it, um, gives them a good end of life, and they're beautiful. They're some of the nicest custom beef I have ever seen come through. And she renders all the tallow down. She makes bone stock. Uh, she made leather out of the hides. Like, she is not messing around. She takes care
Wow.
of whole carcass like none other.
That's amazing. That's awesome. All
Yeah,
right, I gotta dive further into that because I've seen your posts about like dairy fat. Now I grew up eating heifers, like dairy heifers. I grew up in a dairy town,
yeah.
so it's something that I'm accustomed to, and the average person is always going to kind of poo poo it. I think that chefs have kind of done that a little bit because we're chefs and we're so fancy and special that we want the special stuff. What do you think about wagyu? What are your thoughts on like wagyu? Where are you at? Where do you fall on that?
It should be used as a treat. Otherwise, you'll have a
Oh,
heart attack. You know what
okay.
I mean? And I mean, it's beautiful, and I get it every year, maybe twice a year. I don't really see anything too wrong with it, you know. And if you cook it right, it comes out amazing. I think some people try to dress it up or make the mistake, like, I'm gonna get 1.25 inch New York, and I'm gonna cook it just like a steak, and it's not good, you know. Like, I thin slice it, I put it on something really hot, or put something hot on it, and crisp it up fast, and then eat it with just salt, like right there. I don't think it ever touches the plate, really.
Yeah, I think that that's like where most folks kind of go wrong with Wagyu or even Kobe is like they have this idea that they're going to get this super like thick steak and they're going to grill it just like they would grill a regular ribeye, and then their
No, it's
grill
so
just like
bad.
flares and flames and you got all
Oh, I
this soot
know,
and
I
shit on the
know.
outside of it. It's like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, no, no,
Yeah,
please don't do that. No, it is like it should be super like done, like,
yeah.
and then
And I
enjoy.
prefer it in a pan,
Yeah.
just because the fire is insane, and I just don't think people think about that. And then they, like, maybe they put it on the grill, close the lid. I'll be back in just a minute, check on it, and it's just like flaming.
It's kind of like you remember when deep fried turkeys got popular and everybody was
Oh
burning
yeah.
their carports down. I feel like it's
Oh
like
my
part of that,
god.
right? Like,
Yeah, like, look it up. It's a special steak for a reason. It's expensive for a reason. Just take a minute, consider maybe cooking it differently.
yeah, maybe that's what I should be doing. Maybe I should be doing some more content on wagyu beef and how to cook it. Maybe that's something I should work on. That's so okay. Good. I'm glad to hear someone else have that like same mindset around it. Let's talk about mobile slaughtering. I mean, so y'all are doing mobile slaughtering. So that means that you're leaving the shop and you're going to local ranches to actually participate in the slaughter.
I stay in the cut room. I left the slaughter truck maybe 6 years ago, and I, like, will sneak on it for funsies, like, once a year if I can. My friend Austin, he actually runs it right now. It's been passed on a couple times, and he's done a great job with it and learned a lot. He used to be my second in the custom shop as well, so he's a profoundly amazing cutter, and now he's a slaughterman. You know, the whole spiel, and he cuts retail too. Really good. The whole shop is really full of like well-rounded butchers.
That's
Um,
awesome.
where they don't just do whole carcass breaking, but they also they can do retail cutting. We're getting more guys trained up on the slaughter truck. Wrappers are being cross trained in the cutting section. It's fun. I like it a lot.
So let's, if you don't mind, if we can jump into breaking down the positions. So I know the positions of a restaurant. Like, you know, I've worked in large battalion kitchens where we have 16 people working to make a single plate, and then I've also
Yeah.
worked at like Denny's. So I've been around food, but I haven't been like in a butcher shop, especially a butcher shop at the caliber and level that the meeting place is. What so let's talk like start to finish. Like let's what who's the first person that sees the product, the animal?
Alive.
Alive, yeah. Let's go. Let's just that's like the rancher raises their cattle.
Yeah.
Who's the next person to come in? What's the slaughterman? What's that look like?
So the slaughterman will, we'll get the appointment in. We'll drive out there. Uh, Normally, we either know to stay back or it's kind of obvious where to park. You work with the farmer on that. You read the ground, don't want to drive on just grass. Make sure there's gravel. Watch out for pole lines, that kind of shit. Um, and then you got to think about parking. The door is really heavy and you have to push animals either uphill or downhill. And then, so that takes a little bit. You get there, you figure out the setup. The animals are supposed to be like non fed, penned up, ready to go, is the hope. Some people either feel, people don't always necessarily have the ability to interact with their animals because they either treat them like animals or they treat them like pets or they treat them like a steak, if you want to break it down in the most simple form. Um, a lot of people can work with their animals and then know that they're going to process them, but we have a lot of people who tend to be really attached to the animals or so detached the animals never really interacted with them very much, so it's hard to wrangle them.
Yeah,
So you got to make sure there's a trailer. I mean, not trailer, tractor. The Austin will go up, he'll put him down, they bleed him out. You wait for them to kick out, drag him to the truck, and then process them there. Then they'll bring it back to the shop, weigh it, hang it, label it. It goes into our drip cooler. The next day, they get exited. I hang them for each animal has a certain amount of time that they get hung, and then you determine that by the size. Cut them down, and then we wrap them, and they go in the freezer, and then the customer is able to pick it up in like simplest form.
awesome. Okay, so slaughterman takes care of slaughtering, does all that, and then it makes it to the shop, and then you guys hang it. So what? I hear all kinds of different information on a regular basis in the world. How long are you supposed to hang meat for? Like, what's the well? How about this? How about what's the purpose of hanging meat? Let's give people some information like straight from the horse's mouth. Like, why do we hang meat?
We hang it to dehydrate it a little bit. The flavor develops, tenderness develops, and that's what people are looking for the meat. I'm not good with the science, but the enzymes break down, you know, if it's a bull, if it's a steer, there's a difference there. Uh, if it's an old cow, it's 5 years old versus a heifer, there's going to be a difference in between the hang time. Um, in order to achieve what people want, which is a tender steak. I think sometimes people can bypass flavor because you can add flavor, but we've had some customers ask for some crazy things like, oh, I'll just, all ribeyes and burger. I was like, okay, all ribeyes and burger.
Got it. So 24 ribeyes and 600 pounds of ground. Got it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm just like, that we can't just like we could probably shape some things into a ribeye, but I think I always get they just want it tender. It
Right.
kind of drives me crazy, but I get it. At the same time, like, just chew it.
Yeah.
You'll be fine.
I go back and forth. I think it's hilarious what I I in my life working as a personal chef,
Yeah,
I try to educate my clients. I really try to like bring something different to the table than what we're typically used to seeing. One of the things I really like to cook for folks is eye of round, because eye of round to me is just like such a tender, actually like tender piece of meat that is super lean that people don't ever
yeah,
think about because it just like typically gets tossed into the grind pile, you know.
yeah.
What are some other cuts that you recommend that you love? Like what's the butcher cut?
Oh, the beef cheeks.
Beef cheeks.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
I
What is
lived off that for like 3 or 4 years because, when you're just starting out and all you're trying to do is like learn and stuff, it's just the cheeks out of the head. There's
okay?
the big one on the outside, and if you're really striving, there's a little one on the inside that you can pull out too.
That's
It's
awesome. And
so tiny.
how do you prepare it?
Normally I would either smoke them and then pressure cook them. Uh, I think that's basically the only ways I cook them.
Okay. I'm into it. Like I love beef cheeks again. Like these are things that people don't think about unless you're like really in it or you're seeing it and you're doing it. Like
Yeah.
it gets overlooked so easily. It's like it cracks me up that like a flat iron steak is so popular now, or you,
God.
you know, yeah, exactly. It makes me laugh with these things that for whatever reason they catch on and people are like, oh, I gotta have that. Like, oh my goodness, like
I
the
know.
chuck roast. Chuck roast is another one that's like completely overlooked, and it's so like, I love it because it's cheap, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
people don't understand that the chuck roast is such a great cut of meat that has so many purposes to it.
It's so yeah, and I'm all about the pork shoulder steaks
Oh
and
my god.
for like summertime grilling and stuff like that. But everyone wants a damn pork butt. I'm like, okay. I mean, it's understandable, but like these are like it's not chewy, and maybe that's what people get a little deterred by, but like you get a good one, you get like a thick part of the Denver, you get the flat iron, and like either chew it or cut around it. You get all these good pieces. Um, and yeah, they're just so overlooked. It's crazy.
Yeah, I love pork shoulder steaks. I didn't I so I'll be honest, I didn't really know about pork steaks until I met a good friend of mine from St. Louis. And
Oh, yeah,
apparently like in the Midwest, that is what you find at the market is like just shoulder steaks everywhere.
yeah,
And so he taught me about shoulder steaks and now I'm like, okay, like I get it. Like this is
so good.
yeah, it makes absolute sense. I love them because you're exactly right. Like it's a quick grill. It's not like super fatty, and they're just like they're tender, they're juicy. Yeah,
Yeah,
they're wonderful. I love that. Uh, I want to. So I think I really want to touch on kind of your thoughts around the slaughter process because you said something that I was like, oh yeah, no that's very interesting. Is like I think a lot of times people are either, like you said, like totally attached to their animals and they can't watch this happen, or they're completely like, this is just food and
yeah,
I don't want to watch this happen. And it's folks like yourself who are the middle people who are like, I have to understand life, I have to understand death, and I have to understand what the next steps in the process are. Like, what is that like for you? And do people often get weirded out, be like, oh my god, you must get like so weirded out by killing animals all the time. Like, where do you fall in this?
I don't. And it was never anything I considered, I guess. It was never something that crossed my mind. Um, I also I shoot smaller animals, but I didn't do most of the shooting because when I started, I was a gut packer, and then it's just not really my thing. Uh, because I don't know, it just never. Uh, I guess it never like was like, yes, I want to learn how to do this one because I know a couple ways to drop an animal, and it's always one shot. You know what I mean? Whereas like everything else is difficult because you're like rolling around. The gut barrels are like probably what 200-300 pounds, and you have to tilt it on its side and roll it to the truck. And like you're dragging guts and like trying to time yourself so that if you're assisting the person you're with, like you're skinning, you're moving, you're washing, you're dropping joints, you're getting the guts moved out of their way, emptying out the sack, getting it in the gut barrel, loading the hides. Like I think that's what I enjoyed more about slaughter was the actual physical work of it. So thinking about an animal dying was never something I had to process, I guess. I think for people who don't work in the industry, maybe it can be hard for them. I guess I never really considered, I just figured everyone's different, and you know, some people just can't handle it or haven't experienced something that would make this the worst thing they could maybe be seeing in front of their eyes, I guess. Think of a lot of it's just past experience, past history and stuff.
Nice. Yeah, it's always interesting to me because I like I said, I mean, I grew up around it. I grew up hunting and fishing, so you know, death was part of what I grew up with, and it's just like to me, it's totally normal, and I have this really uh, easy way of just kind of dealing with it. Like for me, whenever I shoot like when I take a deer, or take an elk, or take a wild pig, for me it's a very spiritual experience where I'm thanking that animal for the life that it lived to give to me so I could give to life, right? And so I think a lot of times folks are just like, oh, that's Porky, or that's Debbie the
Yeah.
cow, and like they have this really hard time with accepting death as a whole. uh, but for me, like being around death and being in those scenarios allows us to like really be more appreciative of life, I think. uh, I think that folks get so worried about mortality that they're just so stuck in it that it just makes such a negative piece of it. But anyways, it's
Yeah.
always interesting to me, like to get people's perspective on this. And I've never heard of a gut packer, and I'm really like, so just so I have a clear picture of gut packing, it sounds like you're literally dropping the guts from the animal to the barrel, and like that's your job, is like keep that stuff out of the way.
I wish it was that simple. They drop it out, and if you're good, you can weasel it out underneath the other guy, and then you take the biggest stomach sack where all the grass is, and you shove it out somewhere. And if you have to drag that thing really far, because the farmer's like, I want it over in that field, you either muscle it over yourself, or your partner will come help you drag it over there. Then you cut it open, dump the grass, drag it back, drop it in a barrel, or they have a tractor next to us, which is really nice, and you shove it in there. But yeah, you get covered in shit and guts, and that's the better you get at it, the cleaner you are at the end of the day. I learned.
Okay, and like what's the average amount of animal, like how many animals are y'all processing out there? Like what would be a high number, what would be a low number?
So they can probably in the truck, they probably can fit like 8, 9 beef comfortably, which is a lot. And then they'll drop off and then go back out and pick up more animals.
Dang.
Um, so generally speaking, like 6 beef, 5 hogs would be a nice truck bring back for the day. They kill generally 3 to 4, 5 days a week, depending on where we are the season wise. Unfortunately, during hunting season, a lot of people want to be processed then, and that's when we can't do it. And springtime, everything's getting born. So at the summer, we have a big push. We process a bunch of the stuff for the farmers, do the fair season, which I have two now, which is pretty awesome. And then slam straight into hunting season, holidays. And then January hits, and it's kind of like, we made it.
Dang. So you guys like I didn't realize. I mean, I guess I should know this. Like, you're a custom shop. You also do wild game processing. I hadn't even like I hadn't really composed the thought in my head that you're going from ranches with life cycles as well as hunting seasons. So you are just, I mean, nonstop essentially.
For like 4 to 5 months out of the year, it just starts amping up, and then November hits, and that's like the biggest hit. It's elk season,
Right.
rifle season, and it's awesome.
How much fun is it to see? I've as a hunter, I I like to tease people who. Well, I shouldn't say tease. I can imagine the mess that gets brought into y'all because I know some of my friends that are out there quartering their animals in the
Yeah.
field. Like, what kind of like what? You've got to see some absolutely wild stuff. I mean, whether it's gut shot, gut puncture, like in the field. I mean,
Oh yeah.
what's something that y'all see on a regular basis? It's kind of like, why'd you do that?
When we see cannon-sized holes in the animal, like through and through, and they're clean as a fucking whistle. I was like, how close were you to this thing and you didn't gut shot it? Jesus. Or like a big one comes in and a smaller one comes in, and we're like, oh.
Yeah, because you got Bob shot the big elk, and then Tom's just like, I just need to get some meat in the freezer.
Yeah, exactly. And we're like, well, you know, it's really clean, and then we'll process it really fast.
Right, and it's got to be a pain in the neck when you get someone that like drug some of these elk. I mean, some of the places that elk die are just it's terrible, and
Oh yeah.
they've got to drag it. People are probably dragging these things through absolute trash and garbage and dirt and everything else. Like,
Yeah, because they
what's
skin it out fully. I'm like, what are you doing? If you're going to drag it out of the forest, we know where you dragged it. Here's a leaf, and then you went through some pine needles, and then you hit some bark dust, and at the very end, you went to the gravel, and then you threw it on a tarp, a dirty tarp. It like, and like you can see it like ombres out on the animal.
and that's got to be just like such a pain in the ass for y'all because now you've got to clean it because you've got to keep a clean room and you've got to like clean all that crap off because you can't just like go into processing that.
No, so yeah, and one thing I want to suggest, a snatch block only weighs like 2 or 3 pounds, and rope, like swing it on a tree, lock it in somewhere where it's not going to break. If you can swing on it, you can pull your animal out of these fucked up places, and it's not heavy. There are some tools on the slaughter truck that we use, and we always make small suggestions to some of the hunters.
And what
It
was that
makes it
called?
so easy. You know what a snatch block is? Or
No, I
a
don't know.
or a block and tackle, what's it called?
Oh, a block and tackle. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why more people don't do that. I don't carry that because when I'm out there, I do my own processing as well. Like when I bring deer or elk home, but I don't. I try not to skin the animal like that. I will do my best to avoid skinning it so that there's always a cover on the flesh.
I
Because
think
like
people aren't just aware of that, and that's what I'm hoping that's kind of one of my goals this year, but I have a lot of goals and then I get busy and then everything gets paused. Is just to help the hunters understand more about uh, a standard to processing when you're in a state where you have to skin and gut it yourself. You know what I mean? Like certain ways, very specific, even coming up with like a really good small, like you can fit all this in your backpack. This is all you basically need when you go out. and then touch up on like seasons. Like when it's super hot, please stop throwing pepper on your deer. It might keep them off, but it fucks up. I just don't throw pepper on your deer. Use vinegar. It's so easy to carry.
People are throwing pepper on
Still,
what
it's an old man myth.
I have never heard this before. What is the myth behind putting pepper on wild game?
It keeps the flies off.
It keeps the flies off. That's what they
But they
no.
douse like, oh my god! It comes in, we're like, we got a pepper one.
That's so good. I've never once. I carry citric acid powder
Yeah,
in my pack, and so like I
cool.
will like throw a little like splash some water on, and then just get a little bit of citric acid on there, and just
See, we
like
need a yes.
rub it around. But yeah, they put pepper on it. I have never heard that before. That's amazing.
It's horrible,
Oh, I bet. And
horrible.
then it comes to y'all, and then you're like, wow, just deer tasted like pepper. I was like, oh no shit, like he covered
Yeah,
in pepper. Oh my god, that's wild. All right, so I really like this. Like you're diving into creating something to help people understand more about how to really process the animals in the field. I think you're right. Like there isn't a whole lot of like information out there for folks that are doing this, so they're just kind of winging it, or they see one or two videos on YouTube and it's like, oh yeah, I can do that. uh,
yeah,
but
but like doing motion videos and like showing them, like you don't even have to bung your animal, which a lot of them don't do anyways. It's pretty easy not to if you don't want to, and like there's just simple ways that but people need to see it. Like there needs to be some stuff. Maybe we'll talk about that later. um, another one, animals get got shot, and I totally understand that. So I'm never too hard about it. Then the way I form production, so there's a breaker who has the dirtiest spot on the table, basically, to keep everything contained. So there's a breaker, um, and then if you move to my left, then we'll have somebody else who's breaking as well, but I'll like drop it, cut the shit off, throw it in the bone can, so that the next person that touches it will not have any of that on their table. And then they're boning out, and then there's somebody who's staking out. And then that's how last year was a really good example of how well we could perform doing production style game cutting, when we've mainly been focusing on production style domestic cutting for like pork, lamb, and beef. So that was pretty exciting because this year we're going to be way busier. One of the butcher shops that uh, tends to process as much as us possibly now will not be doing it during like October, November,
oh wow,
which I'm excited for. It's going to be fun.
yeah. So like, you get excited for it. Why? A lot of people would look at like the possibility of doing way more work and be like, "Oh man!" Like, but you're excited for it. Like, why are you? What is it that excites you? Why are you excited about it?
It's definitely where I started and where I definitely was like, yes, this is the place I want to be. It's constantly busy. You're constantly working, 12 plus hour shifts, give or take. A lot of hyper focus, and it's like the most work I get to do all year long, basically. So it's like Christmas for like 4 months. And I love hunting season. It's chaotic. It's controlled at whatever points we can. The hunters are always have good stories. It's cool to see the racks. It's fun to see the little kids come in with their first kills. Um, another thing that we try to help out with ODF and W with their chronic wasting disease. We got together a couple years ago more strongly to kind of help produce information, and then they started collecting the lymph nodes and teeth a little bit more, setting up stations, as you probably have heard or seen about through Oregon, because we're basically surrounded. Like it's probably here, but there hasn't been any like big testing pull up to say like it's in this spot, but it
Right.
could really hurt our hunting season, which again comes back to me, and then as well as the animals. Like it could wipe things out and make really weak herds, and in the future really damage their population. And that would be a huge bummer because then again, you're each generation that comes around, you have to keep this trait alive. Same with like sharpening knives, hunting, like original traits that you should never let a machine replace, or be replaced.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that things like butchery are so overlooked, and like how important it really is, and especially working in a small shop. Like I've been on the floor of giant cutting facilities, and it's an absolutely terrible
Tasty.
experience. I if anybody ever wants to know like why you don't want to eat like hyper commercialized proteins,
Oh yeah.
go sit on a cutting floor of a place that has 5,000 employees. Like it's insane. Like you don't want to be there. And so hearing your explanation of like the breaker, and so so folks understand what a breaker is. What is a breaker?
It's just someone who's breaking down the whole animal.
Okay.
So if we have them hanging on the rail, and we can hang quarters instead of halves. We'll bring them out, and then they'll start breaking off pieces according to, and you read the instructions before you cut the animal, because sometimes there are small edits. You vocalize to the crew as you're going along what needs to be seen, and then slam the animal down the line, and then the hope is that the paper worker eventually gets caught on paperwork as you're breaking. So you're trying to multitask as much as possible without stopping the train, and it's just a constant processing.
So it
We're a
really is
small
just
shop.
yeah, it really is just like working in a restaurant where it's a battalion style where it's like,
Yeah,
part A has to lead to part B and C and D and E and F, and like it all has to work seamlessly together to make it the most like
yeah.
cohesive experience for everybody.
And that's one of the great things too, is the crew stayed on for a long time. They're very experienced, and each time we take another step, they do a great job going forward with that. And that's another reason, like being able to read your teammate as you're processing, as you're pushing, as you're picking up, something else, as you're adjusting, because each cut sheet's different. And that's the fun part of that. Um, so you got to really watch. I go through all the cut sheets in the morning, get the animal set up, figure out what we're going to go through, see what we're broadcasting for the week. We check on the hunting seasons that ODF and W put out so that we know the surge of what's coming through. You can see it online. You can see the ticket sales to how many they're offering, which is can be a deep dive, but is interesting.
That's awesome. And so with the cut sheet, so cut sheets are one of my favorite things because a lot of the average person doesn't know what a cut sheet is, or when they bring their animal to y'all, they're kind of like they look at a cut sheet and they say something like, "Oh, I'll just take all ribeyes, or I'll want all New
Yeah.
Yorks and then grind everything." Uh, how often do you see hunters come in with like really kind of fun cut sheets, whereas it's like, oh yeah, you know what? Can you cut these shanks into ossobuco, or can you like drop the loins, or do like a tomahawk rib set? Like, do you guys really do anything with game?
So, um, sometimes I would cut my friends' animals and we'd do some crazy, like, here's your tri-tips and your flanks. They're like, what the hell? They're like, they have those? I'm like, yes, every animal that has it, you just gotta find it, without laughing, because, like, I think I do laugh, but, they don't know, and that's totally understandable. We definitely have catered to animals that are very nice. Like, if they come in perfect, pristine, the hunter has done an amazing job with their processing end, and they're dropping off something that I can age. Uh, it's like a 1% chance that we'll say yes. It really has to be that right moment. I do offer also buco on the deer and antelope. I do it whole because they're tiny. And we used to cut them down. I'm like, why are we cutting these down? I'm like, these are fucking 2 inches, tiny and dangerous. I'm like, just give them the whole thing, clean it up, throw it back at them. And I feel like if it's an easy process, that can be something we can do. Some people ask for the ribs, and we're like, it won like they're full of bloodshot. They're like, yeah, I still want them. I'm like, okay. So we'll cut them down and just give them like, and it might just be, I mean, if they're creative, they'll wrap it around the roast. If they're, they know how to use something like that, they'll wrap it around something and not just cook it like a fucking short rib. But who
Right.
knows?
No, that's awesome. Hey, I was very fortunate this year. The cow elk that I shot, I went between her last two ribs. She was quartering away. I went between her last two ribs and it exited out through her first two ribs without even touching the brisket. And it cut
Wow.
the aortic valve off the top of her heart, and she dropped like 30, maybe 40 yards away from where I hit her. And it was like the
Awesome.
cleanest. I had like a pound and a half, maybe 2 pounds of bloodshot. I never in my life could I make that shot. Like that wasn't even my like. I wanted to hit it around there, but to have it go
Yeah.
as like not a single bullet anywhere in her. But that allowed
Awesome.
me to do like I did these really ridiculously like long tomahawk ribs off,
Ooh,
off of her
beautiful.
backstrap, and I was like, yeah, this is like it's fun. Like for me, like doing stuff like that is fun. But you're right, is it's all dependent on what the animal looks like when it gets to y'all.
Yeah. And like I said, it's like a 1% chance that we would even say yes during hunting season because the hope is that it's like backstraps, yes. Tenderloin, yes. You want best steaks, you want a couple of roasts, perfect. Everything else is going to go to burger and sausage. And to get them to understand that kind of thing, I'm like, if you want something different, you got to look it up and say, I want all whole muscles. I'm like, but uh, as a processor, I respect the hunter. I want to give them what they want. Every fresh meat item always is from their animal. Um, but at the same time, I'm like, we are processing thousands of animals. I think right now we're probably at 1850 or 60 just on the rail, and that doesn't include that like some orders. That's just like one rail, one trolley
Dang.
up at a time. So you can fit like 3 deer on a trolley. You can put 8 elk on an order. That's just an order, like an order sheet. And then we're probably at like 800, 900 for boneless.
Dang.
And next year, I'm hoping to like add another, I don't know, 1,000 across the board.
Wow, that's nuts. Like I can't even fathom that, especially like because that just goes to show how efficient the shop that y'all are running really is because that's a significant amount of processing that you're doing.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a big year this year, but I'm very excited to see like you said, the team was amazing and the efficiency is there. So it's just a matter of, staying focused.
Right, and to have a team that's doing as well as you as your team is, that comes back to your leadership. And I mean, for you, where do you feel like your leadership really started? Like, how did you figure out how to be a leader in this scenario? How to be someone that's going to grow this team to be as efficient as it is? Because it's not something that's easily found. Like, where do you attribute that to for yourself?
And that's still a work in progress too. You're always learning and growing. Um, Working with Andy Turner was a huge step of, I would make some mistakes, left some things at the shop by accident, and the mentality of like having to just say like, hey, whatever's needed, or like, hey, you fucked up, or what the hell are you doing that for? And then coming back the next day and not having that carried over really helped me. Casey and too, as well as Annie, they're just the best people to work for. Um, and I think, you lead by example the best that you can, and those that will follow that want to be like that will do it.
I love that. Accountability first. It's a very important part of leadership, and it sounds like you're just nailing that. It's a lot of people are do as I say, not as I do. Uh, so that's cool to have that experience and grow up with it and then be able to pass that on.
Yeah, it's been really nice. It's also over the years, you have no choice, but if the team moves up with you, you have to move up too. And this year I stepped off a lot of the cutting and like some of the other stuff, making sure that we're ready for hunting season, checking other things out. And then when hunting season comes, I get to be back on the table, which will be nice full time, which I definitely miss.
That sounds like there's a little bit of I really miss the cutting for in the growth of your position. I experienced that myself the first time I went from being like a sous chef or a chef de cuisine to being an executive chef, where all of a sudden I had to take my hands off of something. How have you been? It sounds like you're still kind of getting into it, but how are you managing to kind of let go and trust your team?
It's not so much a trust, I just like the work so much. So it's hard to be like, okay, yeah, we haven't cut anything, so there's 2 days I need to like fill them up. I'm like, okay, so they can do everything I was gonna do. I'm like, okay. I'm like, it's always, you're always trying to train and boost and support to the best of your ability. And, sometimes people won't always understand or see your point of view, but most of the time it's just like, now you know how to do it. Now you've done it. Now you're doing it. All right. Now you're going to pass something down to the new person and they're going to do it and you're going to pick up on this. And then I need to step somewhere else and pick up on something else. And, constantly learning, constantly building, never enough.
That's fair. And now I've been following you on Instagram, as I said earlier. It looks like y'all do a little bit of travel. Like you do a little bit of like, did I see a butchery competition that y'all participated in?
Oh, yeah. So
Like,
I got invited to London last year. I wasn't going to go this year, but the world is very expensive. And I got to experience my first butcher competition with like all the most amazing butchers around the world, all these team captains, and I was pretty intimidated when I first got there, but they're the most down to earth, nicest people. It was one of the best experiences I've had. Honestly, I like these are all people that you're like, I'd like to meet you someday, you someday, you someday. Maybe talk to them online, whatever. But to actually like hang out with them and meet them was like, oh my god, this is crazy.
that's so cool. So I had no idea. I should know that there are you know butcher competitions across the globe. I mean, there should be. Um, how did they find you guys or you, and like what was the process like?
I got invited. One of my butcher friends reached out to me and said, "Hey, this might happen. If you're interested, are you in?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, absolutely. I have no idea what you're talking about, but yes." I'm a big yes to opportunity and then figure it out later. And it's a lot. The hardest thing was trying to figure out how to get your props over there, or paying for them over there. Like that's something I still need to figure out how they're doing because these guys have these amazing setups. And I'm like, how the fuck did you get this thing over to London? I'm like, you didn't just pack this in your suitcase. So, but basically you're just showcase. There are no real rules. You get judged on like, I think it's 100 points and it's, creativity, speed, accuracy and presentation or something like that. And you'd have, these animal pieces, you break them down, stuff them, tie them, dress them up. I'm also the only person in the competition that is more of a breaker than a retail or value added butcher. So I started kind of practicing on that, and I definitely learned so much in 30 minutes. And thinking about maybe next year trying to go for that. They have other ones. There's one in Australia, which I would love to attend to. It would be awesome. And there's some other butchers I want to meet. and just learning the value added side of things. It's a whole nother beast. I'll
That's
tell you.
awesome. So like, did they give you just like a half animal or a whole animal? Like, what did they do? They just like handed you different quarters, or how did that look?
So it was a pork saddle, no tenderloin, which I found out at the day of the competition. But this one amazing guy, Simon the Butcher, he had brought a bunch of tenderloins in case anybody. I'm like, whoa, like the camaraderie with these butchers is like nothing I've ever experienced, and I think that was more of what I took away than the actual competition. Was just how kind and down to earth everybody was. There wasn't an ego in the room, and you know, it taught me a lot. Besides just butchering, just a good reminder of how people are and can be. You know, but yeah, they give you half a lamb, a pork saddle, and then this year they added on 3 bone-in chickens. Um, and they gave them 40 minutes this year, and last year we just had the pork and the lamb and we had 30 minutes. You can make all your prep aside. So I like made my bacon lettuce, got my sauces. I should have made a menu. I was like, I should probably make a menu. I'm like, nah, I'll be fine. And I was like, fuck, I forgot everything. I'm like, I should have had a menu. I'm like, oh my fucking God. I was like, oh my God, I forgot everything I'm supposed to do. When I walked up on stage, because it's my first time ever performing. Um, but I finished 2 seconds before the buzzer went off, and that's all that matters. It was very exciting. And then I went back and drank with everybody. And then the meat gets donated, and then a few items we get to keep, and we start finding the barbecuers. I'm like, hey, throw this on. We're hungry. It's fun. Everybody gets together. Everyone's so friendly in London. It's amazing.
That is so cool. So it and I take it these are things where the public's attending as well, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's
So
so
there's
dope.
it's not too many people, but like I said, you are surrounded by some of the world's best butchers. And it is I also walked in with no expectations. I just wanted to learn, experience, represent, and because I'd never experienced it, just experience something new.
That's awesome. Not many people have the courage to go out there and have that kind of mindset behind doing something that is really uncomfortable for them. And so, like to hear, I love hearing people's stories where, like, yeah, you know what, I didn't know what to expect. I didn't have this idea. I just said yes, and I went out and I fucking did it, and I did it well. So, like, where did you? Was it a placing system? Like, what was the award system or anything like that? Or was it just
They
for
just did
fun?
first through fifth place, and then everybody got a participation award.
Okay, and where'd you finish?
Yeah. I probably finished last. I don't think they named off everybody else. They just did 1 through 5.
Okay, so
Uh,
you know what you're gonna work on for the next one.
Figuring out how to get my props over there. Like you can stuff the meat, you can have all these great ideas, but it's figuring out how to get your shit over to a whole nother country. Um, that was like I said, that was my biggest struggle because everything
Okay.
else I can do performance wise, and when I get nervous, I tend to actually cut faster because it's just muscle memory. I'm just like I just am nervous. I need to do something I know to do.
All right. So props. What is a prop to you? What is that? What is a prop?
Like you get the size of the table, so you get a wooden board, and then you have to get a cover for it, and then you have to get these levels for it because you're going to be looking at it, so you want to make it 3D, and then you want to represent your sponsors or your company that you're there for, so you need a backdrop, and then it might be outside, so it's going to be windy, it's going to be heavy, so you can't fit in your suitcase, it's going to be wood, you got to screw it in, you have no power tools, you know and I just need to figure that. Like you have the winner for last year, Brett Lozzie, who is amazing. He had live goldfish in his glass, supporters for his meat uh tiers. Yeah,
Oh my God, I'm
I
gonna.
mean,
I
this
have to
stuff is
look.
amazing.
I have to look this stuff up. What is it called? What is the competition called?
um it's on Smoke and Fire Festival. for the UK, and it's called Butcher Wars. And then they also have one for meat stock in Australia, and there's another one in London. Yeah.
What about the U.S.? Are there any in the U.S.?
It's not so much of the US culture, and I would love to do that, but for now,
That's crazy. There's not like of all the things that I think would be a lot of fun. Like, so I've been on a few reality TV cooking shows, and like they're a blast. Like I had so much fun being on Chopped. Like it was a really good like fun experience for me. I didn't win. I got cut in the second round. Um, but it was a really cool experience because again, like yourself, I was like, yeah, let's like I don't know what to expect, but yeah, okay, I'll do it. Like let's
yeah,
go. But I feel like those shows, there isn't like a butchery. Now that I think about it, there really isn't like a butcher show in America. But I think again, like let's get back to our conversation about how disconnected from food we are as a culture, and I think
yes.
that's something that chefs should be doing more of is like not just talking about themselves, but talking about where food's coming from and how they're doing it, and then highlighting butchery. Like that's so weird to me. I wonder why that doesn't exist. Maybe it should exist. I feel like there's some really good butchers in America.
There
I
are. There
in the
are.
Pacific Northwest alone, I feel like there's a significant amount of like really good cutters, right?
Yes. I think it kind of started over in other countries, and I'm sure there are butcher contests. We do a lot of barbecue contests, I feel like,
Yeah.
and like food contests and stuff. It's hard to I don't I probably just get it started. I've always wanted to do a hunting. I've been way more into the hunting than I am like once the competition done was done, I was like, yes, now it's time for hunting season. I wish, like, again, we had more to offer for the hunters, even though they say they know what they're doing and all this stuff. Just like, if you're going to take it to a shop, these are just suggestions coming from a processor, not necessarily if you're going to home butcher. I mean, do whatever the hell you want to it. It's no problem.
So I love it. So have you done much hunting yourself?
No. I used to fish, but I always work
Yeah, I
for
was gonna
hunting
say.
season. So that always trumps basically everything in my life.
Okay, so we got to get you on a hunt to the southern hemisphere, so that it's January, February, March when their hunting seasons are, because their hunting seasons are reverse of ours,
Yeah,
right?
that's true.
So it sounds like we got to figure out how to get you to like New Zealand to go do a red stag hunt down in New Zealand and teach them how to do it. Uh,
Yeah,
I
awesome.
don't have any of those connections, but if anybody listening is like, "Hey, yeah, like I know someone like that hunts in New Zealand, like let's hook this up, let's make it happen." Yeah, that's got to be rough because you really have this passion for it, but you haven't had the opportunity yet uh, to experience hunting season like in the woods.
Yeah, I did have hunting season on a highway in like 2018, I want to say, when a bunch of elk got hit. And I was driving by, going to work for a slaughterman that I really wanted to work for, so I could learn from him because I was just kind of getting started back then, uh, like more efficiently with the slaughter work. And a bunch of them got hit, and it was really early in the morning, and I saw this guy out with like a rifle, and I was like, what the hell is going on here? And then I saw these bodies. I was like, oh my god, something bad happened. And then I saw that they were elk and pulled over and was like, hey, uh I'm a little butcher, and ironically I'm going to work for a slaughterman, so I have all my stuff, but if you guys need, like, we could drop them at the shop. Like, I can call and see if we have availability. I can cancel this um appointment I had with the other slaughterman because I'm like, this is crazy. And then they brought them all back to one of their stations, ODOT stations, and then we kind of went over. Well, they went over what they wanted to do, and then I made a few suggestions to save the animals in a more timely manner because it was hitting like an hour and a half, and they were still had guts in them,
Oh gosh,
or Yeah, it had been they were fully gassed up. I'm like, we need to, because I think they were waiting for light. That's what it was. It got hit at like 4:30. They were waiting for the light to hit
Mm,
for whatever reason, and once it did, then I was like, we're gonna have to just lay these down, and everyone has to go for it. We can't just raise these up one at a time.
right.
Um, and that was pretty fun because that was my first time with like an animal that I had to gut and then kind of skin out and check things out. And they needed reports on injuries, and all of them had like broken hips, broken shoulders, broken back.
Oh man.
Yeah, it was because it was like domino effect. They got hit by like an F-150. That was it. But they're tall and lanky, and they just all
Boom,
ate
boom,
shit.
boom.
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh man, that's nuts. I've knock on wood, I haven't had that experience, but how fortunate, like the world just kind of put you in that spot. Or like, hey, this thing's gonna happen. We better have someone out there that knows what they're doing and is gonna make the right calls on this. So,
because
and
yeah.
from what I understand, most of the time ODFW donates that stuff to like schools or food banks, often
Oh,
prisons.
food banks. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is pretty cool. And we have a big poaching problem in Oregon. And a lot of times when ODFW finds poachers, that meat just kind of, uh, it does wind up being processed and then sent to food banks, which is pretty cool.
Yep.
I think we're pretty fortunate. What part of the state was that in? Was that Eastern Oregon or Western Oregon?
That was right as you're driving on to 26 from
Oh,
6,
so,
right past the wait station, I want to say, or before it. I can't remember.
oh, wow. So on the way to the coast.
Yeah, so they'd been trying to get the herd to cross, but for some reason they don't read asphalt well, and then they crossed too early or whatever, and it was still dark, and that was the one they were trying to get to cross. I think they had to put a couple down, and one got away.
Mm, okay. What other kind of stories do you have? What other kind of like cool experiences? What do you think is the most exciting experience that you've had in your career so far with slaughter butchery? Like, what is the highlight for you?
Honestly, it's hard to say. I think that was probably one of the most uh, exciting experiences, just because I was so young and just kind of hitting my stride. So like maybe a year ago, I wouldn't have. I suppose I actually drove past them, and I'm like, that's so weird. I'm like, I feel like I should drive back, and so I turned at the exit and drove back. Um, I really like slaughter if it was a manageable career for me to not only keep up with the other guys who are much bigger than me, like me throwing 65 pounds, 60 pounds is half my weight. Somebody who's a little bit bigger than me, that's like a third their weight. It's not that big of a deal. And I was very fortunate that my boss was so understanding that I'm fast and I can pick up things quickly. And then sometimes the weight, just give me a minute, I'll get it hooked up and put into the truck. And he was really patient about that, and that was really nice. Where other guys can just like throw it, spin it, fling it, and then boom, it's done in like a few minutes faster time. The slaughter work gave me the most to work for, like labor wise, and the animals, on the inside are so clean. I think people don't quite understand the process of slaughter because they're just asphyxiated on like the blood and the death of an animal. I'm like, that these are domesticated animals. And I'm like, you're not going out shooting some wild cow, all right? Like, we have created these for consumption. It is a known fact. Like, please be realistic about this. You can call them Bessie all you want and Daisy, like that's fine. And like Rachel, the dairy beef farmer, she names her beef, and she's sweet to them, and she hangs out with them, and so they associate with her, and she can lead them, and it makes the slaughter process much more manageable and bearable for everybody. And I think people, like, they either can't handle it, like we said, or they don't want to handle what they can't maybe handle because they'll have to fight these feelings, which is understandable. um and then she processed them, and she's done some by herself. Like it's not a like it's acceptable, and her viewpoint on reality is a breath of fresh air, basically.
No, that's awesome. I mean, I think that I've always believed that happy animals create happy food, create happy worlds, right? And I
Yeah,
think that small ranchers, small operations like Rachel and her operation are so crucial to like creating a healthier food source in our country. You know, because it I think that we live in this really weird little microcosm of Oregon where we don't necessarily have these like giant commercial ranches and giant commercial processing facilities like a place like California does. You know,
yeah,
so we don't have that, you know, oh, I'm driving down I-5 and I can see a million head of cattle in, you know, 5 acres of pens. You know, we are, oh, I'm driving 4 hours down I-84 and look at all these cattle spread out along the hillside eating grass and spread
yeah,
out so nicely. You know, that so our mental side of like we're very fortunate to live where we live and have the access to people like Rachel who are doing this in such a cool way.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. Because it's like you said, you know, happy animals, happy process, happy people. I feel like a lot of people just get so caught up in a tender piece of meat. I'm like, you can. It's not. That's not always the purpose of the animal, and I wish people would, if respect it, understand it, or just consider it a little bit more. Like the older animals can be tougher, and yeah, we've gotten some dairy cow that I'm like, fuck, never gonna would never eat this beef. This is disgusting. But like she adds to it. Like she boosts them to a very nice, great place. End of life. Any cow would be happy to be her pet, and then she, or processed animal. And I think it just really depends on what you're going to put in to the process. Um, and I wish people could expand on when you buy an animal, you should visit it.
mm,
Because sometimes a farmer will be like, yeah, it's 450 a half. And you're like, oh, perfect size. And they don't know to ask, like, was it a steer? Was it a cow? And then I'm coming through processing 3 bulls like they're nice beef. I'm like, this customer has no idea. No fucking idea what they just bought. And like, because if they did, they would not be asking for like flanken ribs and all this weird stuff that's going to be like super chewy and disappointing. And that's the customer should ask, and the farmer should be upfront about that kind of thing.
yeah, I've had some experiences like that because I don't I don't just call people I don't call up ranches and say, hey, this is my life experience and this is my thing. So I just call and be like, hey, do you have any cattle? Like, can I get a steer? Like, you know, what are you
Yeah.
gonna give me? And you know, folks have it, some places I'm just like, oh, I'll call you back.
Yeah.
then and then other places are like, oh, sweet, cool, yeah, whatever you got. Like, you clearly aren't here to like, you know, send me, you know, Joe Average, you know,
Yeah.
this whatever bottom stock you have. Like, you're actually all your stock is quality, and you know what you're talking about. And okay, cool. Like, send me the cut sheet, and you know, whoever's gonna do it, do it.
Yeah. And that's another thing that's great about Rachel. She's very honest. And she does the process. So she follows the animal through the whole thing. When it comes in and it hangs after about a week, she'll come in. Um, I'll give her a small tester of the beef. She'll check and see how everything went. Sometimes she used to go to the slaughters, we send her pictures. We're also friends, but I'll send her pictures of her beef as we cut it down, and because it's beautiful. Even so, when we got to the top rounds and everything, like just like from marble, like you'd find like a ribeye.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's not like chunky. It's like thin. It's beautiful. It's structured, and like yeah, you'd have to cook it down a little bit more, but it's amazing looking, and
Dang.
it's rare.
Do y'all sell that at the shop?
No, but you can contact her.
I can contact her and get it. Okay, that's
Yeah.
what I'm gonna reach out to her because I definitely want to get some of that because I want to fiddle with it. I think it's like the other side of it is actually rendering all the tallow and like making tallow. I think it's
Oh
so
yeah.
funny that in today's world, tallow is like it's new, right? Like all of a sudden people are like, oh
Oh
yeah,
my
beef
God.
tallow. It's so great, it's so exciting. Like,
Yeah.
bro, like no, this has been around for fucking centuries. Like,
Yeah.
okay,
Since the beef have been around. Yeah.
what are like on that like kind of like this is ridiculous type shit. What else kind of like drives you nuts as a butcher and seeing people do like, oh yeah, now I'm doing this. You know, what's something that you see that you just cringe at?
I try not to be too judgy, and if I am, it's generally towards the people that are slaughtering. Because you can eat it any other way, any way you want it. You know what I mean? And I like to do like I like outdoor smoking and stuff. So like bigger chunks of meat, it's like it's all gonna break down. It's gonna taste great and stuff. And I feel like you bring the processed or clean animal, you can have whatever you want, however you want it. And sometimes people get really caught up on the cut, like the flat iron, or like just something like the Sierra or the Denver. And I'm like, okay, I'll dismantle this whole thing. Do you want to eat it back? They're like, nope, put it to the grind. I'm like, okay, you got it.
That's pretty good. Um,
And yeah,
all right. What are some suggestions that you have for folks when they come to a shop with something that they want processed? What is something that people can do to make your life easier, to make their process smoother? What is something that folks can do?
have patience. And um it's not even about the clean animal, because honestly a dirty animal is faster to process, because you're like dirty, fucked up, bloodshot, broken, and you're like, all right, just pull off what because it's all there, you can see. um where the nice animal is like, oh, I want to return everything and make this really nice for this person. Knowing what you want and having patience when you have to wait, you know what I mean? And listening to the person who's leading the conversation for intake. We have seen thousands and thousands of animals, so we're not going to lead you wrong. We're going to suggest the best cuts and the way you should cook it. And like, yeah, you can get a bunch of hand cut backstrap steaks off of a deer that's 60 pounds, or you could just get into roast form. Because it's basically, I mean, if you butterflied it, it would be the perfect, like, nice steak. And sometimes on the cutting side too, like just getting people to see, instead of just turn into go robot mode and stuff. But yeah, it's not it's not even about the clean animals, because shit happens, right? Like the animal might move, it might be your first time, maybe you sneezed, I don't know.
That's fair. That's fair. All right. I cannot tell you how much I enjoyed this. I really appreciate you taking the time to sit down and chat with me and go through your career and how you got to where you are today and share a bit about your philosophy around things. And I really hope that this is the September that I get to bring y'all an elk, because I won't have time to process before I go to work in Idaho. So like I've got to like the first week of September, I got to get something on the ground, and I'm not going to have time to process. I got to bring it to you. So I'm
Awesome.
hoping, like, fingers crossed, this is the year. This
Oh,
is the
you'll
year.
get one. We'll see each other soon.
Undoubtedly. And I really want to, like, I think we should definitely expand. I think that you've got some really good ideas here that need to be existent in Oregon. Like, I think we got to figure out how to get like a butcher competition out here. I feel like, why doesn't that exist here? Like, that should be. I feel like we should. Yeah, there. Like Washington County Fair, like be a great place to do that. Like have it
I
like
know, I
on a
know.
stage, and all those ranchers that are out there. Like there's got to be something. It just takes the right like poking and prodding. Uh,
Totally.
so we'll figure it out. Where can people follow along with you? Because they
On Instagram, I have the Breaking Brisket under Marina Gray. You can always look me up there.
perfect. And where is the meeting place located?
Hillsboro, Oregon.
Perfect. And I'm going to list both these locations and both those handles in the notes, as well as when I put it up on social media. Marena, thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to chat with me about all this, and I look forward to the next time.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Andrew.
You betcha. That's it for this episode of Here From Where. Thanks for tuning in, and if you enjoyed the conversation, be sure to subscribe and leave a review. A huge thanks to Justin Pitaleski for the music and sound production, and until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep moving forward. All the best, and happy cooking.